Hi, everybody. This is the OC Drummer, and what I want to talk about today is the other side of the upcoming patch, likely patch 1.33 for Warcraft 3 Reforged. You've all heard about it. The news is flying all over the interwebs. You got big news outlets talking about it, Bellular also talking about it, Grubby covering it, Back to Warcraft covering it. Everybody who's anybody is covering it, talking about it, and then the man himself, Mike Ibarra at Blizzard, all but confirming something is coming in June. So what's been happening over the past couple weeks, even a month, is you have some of your top-end players, Remo, Lawliot, Grubby, Happy, all the way from the middle tier all the way to the top tier. You have balance patches coming everywhere. And what I want to talk about is not so much that side of patch 1.33, but the other side of patch 1.33, graphic changes, quality of life additions, UI fixes, things that we should be doing to refresh the game, make it approachable to brand new players, and bring a new breath of fresh life into the game. So where are we? Where have we gone? Where are we heading? And what can we reasonably expect in this new upcoming patch? So in January 2020, if you can remember, 2.5 years ago is when this game released. And it released in an unkind way, we can all agree. There was a post about profiles in July 22nd, 2020. And we'll see some screenshots from that. And you might be asking yourself, why is there a post about profiles? Wasn't that included in the base game that they were remaking? Well, yes. But unfortunately, the game did not come feature complete. So after the launch, Blizzard had to make a couple posts making some promises that they were going to add some of the more anticipated features, such as a ranked ladder, such as profiles, all things that the incredible W3 Champions team has built from the ground up over the past 2 years. The last patch we've had was April 14th, 2021, about a year and a couple months ago. After that, complete silence. Nothing. Not a single word from Blizzard themselves. Until some noise came out. A Bloomberg article came out in July 22nd of 2021, just a few months after that last patch. And in that article, dropped a couple bombshells, kind of portraying the troubles, the management, the leadership issues with the game, the budget getting cut, all sorts of just higher level issues with the game being rushed out, pre-order concerns. I highly encourage you to go read it if you haven't already. Just search in Google Bloomberg Warcraft 3, should come right up. But one thing to note in there is it was mentioned that a new team was working on the game, and it's my understanding that it is the Vicarious Visions team that was folded in to the Blizzard parent company, and they're now part of Blizzard, which is part of Activision. Now, Vicarious Visions is a great studio. They've done great remasters, and one of my favorites is the Tony Hawk remaster. Very true to the original games, plays almost identically to the original games, and really is just a graphic overhaul. The levels are just like you remember them. The gameplay is just like you remember it. And it really just brought a big smile to my face playing it. So, I never thought I'd be saying this in 2022, but the fact that this team is working on the game and the Blizzard team is not, actually quite intriguing. Actually something I may be looking forward to, considering Vicarious Visions' track record and Blizzard's recent track record. Now, getting into the real juicy stuff. Mike Ibarra, current president of Blizzard, really, for the first time in a long time, almost 2 full years, finally started speaking up in his personal Twitch stream. And you have to remember, he doesn't necessarily need to respond to any of these comments or this feedback. I see questions in his Twitch stream get ignored all of the time, from myself included. I've asked questions and you see him look at him and he ignores them, just like any other streamer. Streamers don't have to answer every single question. He is physically looking at a question and choosing to respond to it 3 times. So that means something significant is likely coming. I don't think he would set everybody up for all this anticipation or even acknowledging it if something relatively significant was not on the way. So First, in March 14th, quote, and just this is a partial quote, "We are working on Warcraft 3, and I'll ping the team." And the remainder of that is something along the lines of about their communication about the game. I think he said in that space. So he doesn't want to speak for the team. He wants the team to come up with how they're going to announce it, how they're going to communicate it, and he was just letting us know that's in the works. Also, April 24th, I think you will hear from the team pretty soon on plans there. So a follow-up a month and 10 days later, things are still happening. And now a full month, 4 days later, is when the tweet comes out, and you see that in the top right here, JC Nilsson. Any news from the Warcraft 3 Reforged team, and you'll hear from them soon in June. So this is some of the best information we have so far about when we should expect things to come out. Now, like, what should we actually expect? What is actually coming in June? Well, we have to keep in mind how long the Blizzard team worked on Reforged, and I think it was about 2 years, because when the game was announced at BlizzCon, the team was not even aware that they were going to announce a release date at BlizzCon. They knew they were going to announce the game, but they weren't aware they were going to announce a release date a year after that. So I would guesstimate the team to build Reforged in its current state somewhere between 2 to 3 years of work. Don't know how big the team size was, but they, I would, if I had to guess, somewhere between 15 to 20, maybe a little more. Now, this new team, I'm assuming Vicarious Visions, has had 1+ year with the game, according to the article. So what could they have realistically got done in 1+ year, and how many developers are actually working on it? Now, we have the 20-year anniversary coming in July, so my guess is what we're going to see in June is some sort of post, some sort of patch on the PTR, and then some sort of patch actually to the production servers in July, coinciding with the actual 20-year anniversary, get the news beat, get the whole, momentum of that story, and kind of pump some life back into the game. What are we realistically going to see? If I had to guess, it's going to be the completion of Profiles and Ladder. A lot of that work is already done. It was just abandoned. So that is work that is on the easier side of picking up and finishing off rather than a completely new feature. You have to understand that there's back-end components to this, front-end components to this. A lot of the data is already there in the database for your stats, wins, losses. You can actually query that stuff with Discord bots, and W3 Booster is able to pull that information as well. So realistically, tidying that up, getting that finished sounds reasonable, and balance sounds reasonable as well. And you've seen the top players talk about their balance and their concerns with Blizzard addressing balance, and I think that those discussions are best left for them. And I'm going to focus on some of the other sides of the patch. On this end, I will touch on balance a little bit in terms of just general philosophy, but overall, I think those types of things are best left to some of the higher-end players that have much, much more experience with the game, and also they know where the game has come from in its roots, and all of the balance changes that have been made over the years and the implications of those types of balance changes. They can apply what they've learned in the past and use that for future decisions. I don't really have much context there, so I don't feel that I'm the best qualified for that sort of discussion. If I'm optimistic, if I'm going to be surprised and blown away, it's going to be a battle chest. So it's going to be Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, and a Warcraft 3 kind of overhaul. And what does that do? That gives Blizzard a chance to wash away Reforged with another purchased product. That's what it does for them. Reforged goes away, and Warcraft 3 becomes part of the battle chest. When you search Warcraft 3 in Google, you don't see Reforged anymore, you see battle chest. When you search it on Amazon, you see battle chest. When you search it on Metacritic, battle chest. It's a way to push Reforged down in SEO, everything else that's aligned with Warcraft 3. Include Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, do it right, just like you did Diablo 2 Resurrected, just like you did StarCraft Remastered. You have a good team in place right now, potentially. That could be a way to really just completely start fresh. Now, your existing users and fan base are not going to forget what has happened, but to the casual end user, there's a chance that over time, this blemish starts to go away. Perhaps. That's optimistic. Now, in my opinion, what is top priority? What needs to happen first, and in what order do these things need to happen to somehow sustain any sort of longevity with the game at all? First off, you need to kind of support the users that are on the game right now. You don't want to lose the existing user base. So you do need to retain who's already playing. Then you could focus on attracting new users and retaining them. So that's what I would do first. Balance update and a meta refresh. There's a lot of good materials. I highly recommend go look at Remo's balance patch, Grubby's balance suggestions, Law Alliance, Happy's. There's probably several others. Those are some of the more popular ones. All these great players have a lot of great opinions. Please go check it out and leave your feedback, because the Blizzard's probably looking, if they're, I know if I was working there and I needed to make a balance change, I'm probably going to get the pulse of the community to help me make those decisions. Now, you've rebalanced the game. You have a meta refresh. Great. The player base is hopefully happy about that. We'll see. Now, ranked ladder needs to come in. Stats and profiles need to come in. This ties directly into the free-to-play. You cannot have free-to-play before you have ranked ladder, stats, and profiles, and I'll explain. War 3 Champions, W3 Champions, is an incredible add-on, but it is just that. It's an add-on. It's hard to find. It's not easily... It's just a big barrier to entry for new players. As unfortunate as that is, the platform is incredible. The development team, the whole team behind it, does incredible work. Probably one of the best mods out there for any game, period, if we're being honest. It's just great. 20 servers on there. I know Neo from Back to Warcraft sponsors some or all of it. The server costs are significant. You're talking in the several $100s a month range. If I had to guess, I don't know, probably somewhere around like $30-ish a server a month, something like that. So you're looking at $600 to $700 a month. Excuse me, $600 to $700 a month, I would have to guess, ish. Could be off, but that's significant. So, the community is doing that out of their own goodwill and paying out of their own pocket to support this whole thing. Now, ranked ladder, stats, and profiles. Hopefully these two things are already in development and they're piggybacking off of the development that's already been done. Free-to-play comes next. When you want to onboard new players, you need to make the game free-to-play. That reduces the barrier to entry, and you need to pair new players with new players. You cannot have new players coming in and getting absolutely steamrolled, and they will get steamrolled even by bronze and grass players. I'm talking about people who have never picked up an RTS before, ever, coming in and facing off against someone in War 3 Gym who's just been in there for 2 months. Who's probably in bronze, maybe silver, even grass. They're going to just absolutely steamroll over any new player who comes in. New players don't know build orders. They don't know what units do. They probably are going to play the campaign and get a rough idea, but when they go into multiplayer, when they go into ladder, we have no clue. They need to be paired up against one another to have any sort of fun or chance at retaining them. You've seen this in Fortnite with Fortnite introducing bots into games. And I'm not suggesting we go that far, but maybe in some sort of unranked mode. I know you already have computers, but I don't know, maybe in some sort of unranked mode, you could experiment with that at the super low level where MMR is just completely not even a factor because it's just a completely new player. Fortnite's done it. I think they've had some success with it where you'll be in a lobby with 100 other players. Maybe some of them are lower ranked players. Some of them are actual bots. And it's helped players learn the game, build some confidence, and have more fun with it rather than just getting completely sweat on by someone who can just build the pyramids of Giza over you in 3 milliseconds, and you just get triple headshot sniped by everyone on the other team in the same instant. That's not really fun when you get to the end game, right? So stats and profiles, ranked ladder, MMR, matchmaking system. This gets new players into the game with free-to-play and retains them with some new player onboarding and some smarter matchmaking. After that, we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to monetize the game. It's free-to-play now, It needs to be able to sustain itself. Blizzard is a business. When they look at their balance sheet, they're going to decide which games are we going to support, what are the team sizes on those respective teams, and you know how they make those decisions? The balance sheet. How much money is World of Warcraft making? How much money is Call of Duty making? How much money is the new Warcraft Arclight making? How much is the new Diablo Immortal making? Those games are all going to be churning and printing money, and you know what that's going to result in? Adding more resources to the team to support it. This is what we need to have happen to Warcraft 3 Reforged. Whether we like it or not, skins, models, I don't want to go as far as loot chests because that's a little weird, but monetize the game, get people paying for the game, increase the lifetime value of a user of Warcraft 3 Reforged. That results in it showing up on their balance sheet. That results in business decisions getting made to continue to support the game. Because right now, the lifetime value of a user is $30 or $40, depending on which version you buy. And if you refund it, it's actually $0. So right now, it's just a money sink, and they need to make it a profit center, not necessarily a cost center. Balance. So I really want to leave the details here to the better players. I think there should be some sort of council. World of Warcraft is doing this now. So World of Warcraft does have some sort of council in the forums to help make decisions about the state of the game and where it needs to go. I've heard mixed reviews about this council forums. I forget what it might be called a council. I'm not even sure what it's called. But I think something similar needs to happen for this game as well. Veterans of the game, people whose best interests are in the long-term health of the game, ideally as unbiased opinions as possible, although that's really not possible at the end of the day, just to make the game, give it the best shot that it has to get the balance that it needs to just make a fair and fresh game. Now, in general, I've looked at some of the balance patches, and these are some of the things that I've heard that I really agree with in general philosophy, and I'd love to see addressed. Fix the heavy imbalanced matchups. So, you have your Night Elf Orc, Undead Human, Orc Human. There's probably a couple others as well. Those are like some of the top ones that come to mind. When you get in those matchups, it's really unfun and unfair, and I've heard quotes of imbalanced player can make plenty of mistakes and still win, and then the person who's at the disadvantage really has to play perfectly to have a chance. That's not really fun, especially when you're at the same MMR. I get it if you're playing someone 100, 200 MMR higher than you. Sure, that should be expected. You must play perfect to beat someone better than you. But someone of the same skill level doesn't feel very good to be in that sort of imbalanced matchup. Include the newer maps. We have a lot of great maps, and honestly, some of the best times for me as a newer player to the game is when we all get put on the same playing field in a new map. No one really knows the creep routes. No one really knows, is it Night Elf favored? Is it Orc favored? Is it Human favored? You have some ideas, but the map's not figured out. When I started playing and I played Last Refuge, everyone I've played against has been playing on this map for years, and I had just started playing on the map. So I was getting just crushed. These guys know all of the different variations of creep routes, all the different creeps themselves, and the correct way to fight the creeps in terms of the most efficient ways at each creep camp. So new maps bring a kind of like a factor of a level playing field again, and it kind of resets everybody back to square one. You're playing somewhere unknown, somewhere unfamiliar, and then it comes down to how do you adapt, how do you overcome, and just raw skill with unknown kind of environment that you're playing within. It brings just a fresh perspective. Rework or replace some of the underused spells. I love this one. There's just some spells that I watch tournaments, you all watch tournaments, you just never see them get skilled. So I think those need to be replaced, reworked. Buff underused units and spells, nerf overused units and spells. I think that would also bring some freshness to the meta. So just that general philosophy in terms of which units, leave it to the better players. There's always the common offenders, like a lot of people unhappy with statues. People seem to be unhappy with moonwells, with movement speed of certain races, and some are too fast, some are too slow. Some auras make things a little out of control. So I think some of that needs to be brought into balance as well. And then overall, just refresh the meta. I've heard a lot of comments recently about the meta seems stale. The patch is quote unquote figured out and solved. As much as I like to think it's not solved yet, it certainly does seem so. And a lot of the tournaments are being won by Undead recently. A lot of the matchups have a lot of similar outcomes in tournaments. And I get it, there are like skill gap disparities in tournaments, but still at the end of the day, refreshing the meta, I think, will be a positive thing overall for the game. So kind of just circling back all the way to that 2020 post, these are actual screenshots from Blizzard and how far they've come. And now I believe these are actual in-game screenshots. I don't think these are mock-ups in a program like Sketch or something like that a product manager or a designer would have come up with. I think these are actual in-game representations. I don't think they're hooked up to like a back-end data source, but I do think a lot of the front-end work was done, at least in a basic beta quality level. There's probably bugs in here and things like that, but overall, I think like the leaderboard looks good, it reads well, and a lot of people were really looking forward to seeing this in the game. This was ranked and unranked versions in the existing Battle.net ladder, and on the right, you can see different icons for silver and gold tier. You have different divisions. You can see your rank, and you could obviously see in the screenshot it's from 2020, so this is really from that long ago. But I do think that these are screenshots from actual in-game examples, not from some sort of graphic designer's sketch file, something like that, Zeppelin file. Match history, so looks really good. And again, this is just a refresh. You can even see the version number in the corner here that further kind of solidifies in my mind. I don't know if this is a 3 back here, but if I had to guess, it's 1.33.0, something like that. So you do see the version of the actual game behind here. So I believe these are in-game. I believe these are, for the most part, ready to go. But my guess is the team pretty much just got gutted and disbanded before the game could support this and update these. So those are some great screenshots of where we've come from and what I think we'll be seeing in June. I think we'll see a return of those, maybe a refresh. Now, for monetization, this is just something that has to be done. I think for the long-term success of the game, free-to-play model and monetization. But like we said before the free-to-play model, we need to have ranked ladder to be able to pair new players with new players. And also, once you increase in skill, playing people of equal skill is always important. So skins for Classic Plus and Reforged. I'd love to see Classic Plus graphics brought into the game. If you haven't seen my previous video, please go check it out. It's about importing the StarCraft 2 Warcraft 3 HD models from the StarCraft 2 engine into the Warcraft 3 engine for probably the first time ever, and it's thanks to a lot of the folks over at the Hive Workshop. Also with monetization, things like icons. You could do custom icons. You could buy custom icons, avatars. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. It's already been invented. Fortnite does it. Call of Duty does it. There's a lot of free-to-play successful games out there that they just print cash all day long. And then I think a great one would be actual campaign extensions. So what happens in between the end of Warcraft 3 and the beginning of World of Warcraft? Do you even want to go back and maybe redo some of the Warcraft 2 campaigns in the Warcraft 3 engine, Warcraft 1 campaign in the Warcraft 3 engine? I think that'd be really cool. Just the story that was told back then. You could do prequels, you could do sequels, kind of anything you want there. And of course, $5-10 for a campaign extension. I'd buy it. I love playing campaign. I played the Reforged campaign from, I think it was Insane Monster. Is that his name? Incredible. I had a great time. I was really pleasantly surprised by some of the additional gameplay in those missions, and I think I just played 4 or 5, and just the additional layer of mission objectives you had to do in the existing missions was it was elegantly done. It was great. So just some examples, and these are from the Hive Workshop, and you don't have to use skins. Your opponent doesn't even need to see these skins. They could just be locally on your game, your machine. But people like skins. At the end of the day, people like new skins, new models. So some new paladins on the left, a new blade master on the right. It's actually like, I think it's Grom Hellscream on the right. On the left is some like generic paladin defender sort of guy. He already looks better than the Reforged paladin, I can tell you that. So that's already an improvement. And then another Tauren chieftain on the left here. Different types of buildings on the right. You can already see it in your head. The story writes itself. Human battle pack, starter pack, orc pack, the full pack, everything. $20, $30, $40, $70, $80. You know, this stuff exists in other games. Battle passes. All this stuff is so easy to implement. And yeah, maybe it is a tiny bit counter culture to like what Warcraft is and how it started, but do you want Warcraft 3 to continually be this diminishing player base, or do you want to bring new lifeblood into the game, new players? I believe the only real way to do that is go free to play, and to do that, you need to bring in new models. This is a way that it doesn't impact anybody who doesn't wish to use them. You could play the game for free, and you actually end up with a better experience because hopefully we'll get ladder and future support. Certain skins, you could just skin existing models. Here's Sylvanas on the left, or the Dark Ranger. Also a Blood Mage on the right. So, and then courtesy of the, let me move out of the way here for, so you can see that individual's name there. And some additional skins here. You see Archmage on the left, Huntress skin on the right. And these are all in Reforged, so you could choose to have skins in Classic. Probably don't. I would imagine the players that are playing Classic don't want skins, so there's probably just kind of a wasted effort to even put them in that environment, in that context. But for sure, Reforged players, Standard Definition Plus players, Classic Plus players could certainly get some great benefit from new skins. Anyone who's a Classic purist, play Classic graphics, play Classic everything. No harm, no foul. Have a great time, and hopefully you'll have a better time because there'll be ladder and balance patches. Graphics, we talked about this in my last video. Bring in the Standard Definition Plus units. I think that is a must. We have to get there. It's just a wasted opportunity. How can we not have these beautifully done Standard Definition Plus graphics that exist in the StarCraft 2 engine and not just bring them over to the Warcraft 3 engine? There are plenty of units that still have to be done, but if anyone could get it done, it would be Blizzard. Yes, it would take quite a bit of work, but I think you get a ton of goodwill. And if there are tools like AI, upscaling techniques, anything like that, I think now's the time to leverage those and put those into effect. Let the AI do a lot of the work, go in and touch them up, and really all you have to be doing here, not necessarily all the campaign models, touch the melee models, the ladder models. It's probably a fraction of the full model set, and I think you could start there and even iteratively complete the job as you move forward. I also want to see true uncapped FPS. Right now, the game is capped, I believe, at 60, even though like your mouse moves and your actions, you can make more than 60 actions per second, obviously. The art animations themselves, I believe, are locked into 60 FPS. Because when I've ported the models into, or when I use the Warcraft 3 models in the StarCraft engine, which I believe goes at least to 120, maybe it's even uncapped, the animations are fluid. The spell animations are very fluid. Their movement is fluid. It looks more like Heroes of the Storm animation. So if you've played like a Mountain King or a Paladin, like Uther or Muradin in Heroes of the Storm, you know how like fluid and nice those animations are. I would love to see that in Warcraft 3. I know it would definitely make the game look different. Like, think about Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I think that game's at like 20 frames a second. It's kind of part of the fidelity of the game, but I'd like to see it as an option. If it is possible, let people uncap the frame rate. Maybe in classic graphics you keep it at 60 because the animations probably just don't exist to be done above 60, but Reforged, Classic Plus, let's experiment. Let's get an uncapped FPS. I think it would make the game look visually more beautiful and more appealing. Refactor the Reforged assets and make it an optional download. So right now the Reforged assets, I think, just are not up to par for the community. So first off, make it an optional download. I think it's kind of really weird that even if you don't own Reforged, you have to download the assets anyway, and it's like a 30, 40, 50 gigabyte package, and that's obnoxious for if you're going to play with only classic graphics. I think the original game was like 700 megabytes or even less. So it's just night and day in terms of the package that you're actually downloading. First off, make it optional, and then second off, maybe look into refactoring and reworking some of the models, specifically the portraits, and then maybe just dial them in closer to their original likeness, and I think you might actually get a couple players willing to use it more often. And I think also the custom game community would appreciate it as well. Performance optimizations. This has to be done. Right now, I have a pretty good computer, and I could barely run the game at 60 frames per second with shadows on. That's just unacceptable in the year 2022. Can't happen. I have to turn shadows off with Reforged graphics to get any sort of respectable frame rate. So that just needs to be optimized. If you want players to have any shot at using Reforged graphics, you have to optimize the engine. I also think an in-game UI rework needs to be done, and I'll show some examples of some custom games that have completely refreshed in-game UIs. You could do pretty much anything with the in-game UI as a map editor, and of course as Blizzard you could do anything anytime, but as a map editor you could even do this. So whether it's Blizzard or W3 Champions, I think an in-game UI rework could be done on every single map that's played on War 3 Champions. It's all done with Lua code, I believe. Hive Workshop has great examples of this. Even Blizzard themselves showed off like UI reworks at BlizzCon, and some of them look pretty good. You could even go as far as allowing users to customize the UI, much like they do in World of Warcraft. I think that's kind of a down the line thing, but still, at the end of the day, I think a UI rework. And then part of that is adding like unit groups and extra UI elements that W3 Booster has. It's really nice for stream viewing, and it's really nice for in-game kind of knowledge. So what I mean by, if you're going to keep the base UI, and you can see at the bottom here, this is a clip from Back to Warcraft. They've customized, I think they worked with Pad on this and some other folks. They've customized the War 3 executable to essentially hide this portion of the UI, even in the classic UI. The Reforged UI doesn't have this by default, but you have this extra screen real estate here, which is really nice. There's no point in having this here. The reason this was here in the old Warcraft 3 is because it was a graphical limitation. The game literally didn't render any pixels below this line, where the Tauren Chieftain's title is, like right above that. It didn't render any pixels under there, but now it does. And the same with the menu up top. And in fact, back in the day, if you unhid those elements, you would just see black. Like the game just doesn't render those pixels. Now it does. So there's no reason to not be able to rework this UI a little bit, maybe shrink it. I know Grubby suggested maybe just shrink it 20, 30, 40%, allow the user to have a toggle. I mean, any modern game you play now has a HUD scale toggle. Just allow the user to toggle down the HUD scale. I think that would be a great quality of life. And then on the top here, just a clip from my video. You could see the classic model here on the left, standard definition plus right next to him. You can see the Paladin looks incredible. Classic definition Lich in the center right here, and then far right is the standard definition plus, classic plus, whatever you'd like to call it, Lich. So I think bringing these graphics in would be an incredible addition to 133. So here's a clip from Grubby Stream, and you could see kind of the War 3 booster additions that I think are really great for the default UI. So unit groups, I think they do this in StarCraft 2. So bring this over to Warcraft 3. It makes complete sense. You're not really giving anyone any sort of competitive advantage, but it helps new players, it helps existing players, helps viewers of a stream figure out what unit groups do good players, how do they group their units up. I think it's just a no-brainer. Also, I think this is good at a glance also for in-game, just to be able to see what heroes have what items without needing to scroll through the heroes. I think this is pretty cool as well. So here is a clip from this individual down here. This is his YouTube channel. I don't know how to pronounce it, unfortunately, but please go check him out. He does a lot of work on the Hive Workshop with GUIs, and on his YouTube channel, he has a lot of clips of some custom games he's worked on. But this is just someone building a custom map, and this is just different types of UI you can build out of the box right now in the existing game as it stands today. So when I see this, there's no reason we cannot have a refreshed UI, whether it's by third-party team like W3 Champions or Blizzard themselves. But this is a chance to kind of refresh maybe item shops, inventory of heroes, trading between heroes, like bulk trading, things like that. There's probably creative ways to integrate UI into an actual game when you're in your base. Maybe, maybe not. Would love to kind of open that discussion, get some thoughts, even experiment with it would be great. I think a mini-map upscale is long overdue. When I go to loading screens in a game, I see this pixelated kind of mess of a mini-map, and it's just kind of meh. I'd rather see something like on the left, on the right, sorry, on the loading screen. Maybe some updated icons, more actual overhead screenshot of Last Refuge rather than a mini-map representation of Last Refuge. When you're in the game, sure, you can use this lo-fi, low-res version, but on the loading screen of the game, I think this would look much, much cleaner. Also in the map veto experience, when you're vetoing maps, anything like that. War3 Champions actually did a upscale project, and what they also did that I really liked was they changed how the camps were represented with different shapes and also different letters to identify what's a tavern, what's a shop, what's a laboratory, what's a merc camp, so you could see at a glance on the loading screen. And I think if you combine these two things, like an upscale and the new icons, I think you get a much more informative mini-map, which would be great. W3 Champions also did a AI-based icon upscale, so I think this is something great that could come to just the classic icons. You can see here the Tauren, the coloring did get a little different, so this might kind of rub some people the wrong way. I'm interested in just adding more pixels to the image. I'm not really interested in recoloring or sharpening corners or things like that. Just add more pixels, make the icons more beautiful. That's really all I'm advocating for, the classic icons, that is. Now we need to move to feature complete. We still have this game in the state that it's in right now. We have the must-haves, and now we have feature complete. So what do we need next? We're missing clans. This is something that was way more important back in the day, still important now, but back in the year 2001, 2002, you didn't have Discord. You didn't have all of these great chat voice communication tools. So clans is not nearly as important today as it was back then, although it still is important because now you just have Discord communities. People who wish to discuss and interact and play with one another are typically in a Discord community anyway, and you do have Battle.net communities, not nearly as good or as clean or seamless as clans in the game, but it is great for like clan wars, tracking stats with one another, and just managing Warcraft 3 communities in the game. It keeps people in the game more often. I remember back in 2001, 2002, you were just in the game all the time. Even if you weren't playing, you were on that menu screen, that Battle.net screen, chatting with your friends, playing custom games, whatever you want. This will keep people in the game longer. Main menu overhaul. I think just the main menu just honestly looks terrible. The background looks terrible. It doesn't perform well. The main menu is choppy and not clean or seamless. So I think that's just the whole thing just needs to be torn down and built up from the ground. Custom campaigns, those need to return, and things like the Reforged campaign and other great custom campaigns out there can be played once again. And automated tournaments. Blizzard made a case that the tournaments weren't played or weren't as popular. I think that's honestly because they were broken. Like AT was just broken back in that time range. You had to like open up certain ports on your router with those older clients, and certain people just didn't know how to do that or didn't have the tolerance for it. They just went and played another game. So I think automated tournaments were broken partially because like a ranged team was kind of broken. So I kind of doubt the statistics they're using there, but I'd love to see automated tournaments return. And there's some screenshots of what W3 Champions is doing with that effort. So a little story time here. This is back in the beta. This isn't a screenshot from me, but this is the game as it existed back in the beta. And there's pros and cons to this, right? You're always online. You could see on the right. In the old client, you were only online, able to chat with people when you click the Battle.net button and you actually logged in. Now you're online all the time, but you're online in this tiny little window in the bottom right-hand corner. So some of the feedback in the forums was, can we get the UI to look like it used to look in the beginning, where it kind of is a full screen experience and you're immersed into the chat experience? And what actually ended up happening was Blizzard said, I don't know if they said it like this, but they said something along the lines of, we hear you, we improved the UI, and this is what they came out with. They just blew the thing up. This nowhere even comes close to the old experience. I remember being excited to log into this game during the beta when that post was made on the forums, and I said, "Oh, great! They redid the UI. This is going to be awesome." I went in, and this is what they did. They added a lock button to the top, so this thing is just in your face all the time. It doesn't even auto collapse. Random people on the right. There's like 600 different W3 general channels. You can't join a clan channel like you could back in the day. Clan GGL, like all these great clans back in the day where people would hang out. Can't do that anymore. So there's no like common chat rooms or common like town halls you can actually hang out in anymore. But someone who is doing it well is W3 Champions, and this is the current UI from them. You can see it looks very much like the UI of old. It takes a lot of the fidelity, a lot of the experience, and just the look and feel of the old UI. I think they did an incredible job. There is a common channel. You could talk with everybody, although 99% of it is just people talking crap to one another or saying extremely hateful things, and they get banned, but it's whatever. But that's a game. That's an online game. That's what happens. Overall, you can join clan channels on here. You can talk to people. I think we need to be moving more towards this direction, away from just turn the ship around and speed off from whatever they've done back here. This is honestly, it just reeks of laziness and being rushed, which maybe lazy is a harsh term, but rushed for sure. So tournaments and events, this is again from W3 Champions, and I think, if Blizzard, they have the look and feel of the Blizzard UI. I think borrowing from this and being able to implement, or even if W3 Champions does this themselves, this is something I couldn't look forward to more. This is something I'm very much looking forward to casting, playing in. You can imagine like the 1400 MMR tournament for newbies, the 2200 MMR tournaments for the topper end, the top end players that you could observe and cast those matches, look at the brackets in the game. I mean, this would just be so incredible and so healthy for the game. Back in the day, Blizzard used to do paid tournaments for this, and that was awesome. But now it doesn't exist. So it's just a huge missed opportunity, and this is something that Fortnite does. It gets people excited. Halo does it as well. All these modern games, they have automated tournaments, and I think this is something that just needs to come into the game. Again, courtesy to W3 Champions for this. So some nice to have, some things that they don't need to come immediately, but I think this is something like if they put it on a year-long roadmap, this would get me excited, right? The ability to rejoin games, have a nice score screen overhaul, and I'll show some examples of that from the W3 Champions team. Observe real-time games, and of course, W3 Champions has done this recently with Flow TV. There's no reason in 2022 this is not part of the in-game native experience. If that talented team can do it, Blizzard can do it too. Custom game region selection. So right now, of course, W3 Champions gives you a drop-down to be able to select European gateway, Asia gateway, America's gateway, so you could join custom games in different regions. It used to be this way in the old client. It would show the region in like brackets, and in the beta, you could do this too. I think that's nice. I would like to be able to join custom games from other regions. It makes the custom game list more full. It makes the whole custom game community more vibrant and together. I think that's something that should just be included. And if you want to filter on America's only games, great. You can do that. And then a Reforged campaign. I know Insane Monster's doing it on his own. It's not a one-man job. This is a multi-person job. And I think Blizzard, maybe with the help of this talented individual, could come to terms and do something that really the community deserves. This is what we paid for. We paid for a campaign of the quality that Insane Monster is giving us. This is what we expected. This is kind of what we were promised. And I think they just need to fulfill this 2-3 years later. So kind of looking at a War 3 Champions refresh score screen experience, I think the old score screen's a little dated, having to click on each tab to kind of see all the stats. Maybe if you want to do that, you could have like a more button so you could go into more detail. But I think this kind of just brings in a more modern, refreshed look to an actual score screen. And then in 4s, I think this looks great as well. At least, just at a glance at a surface level, looking at what heroes did everybody have, what levels were they. You can even maybe put the items they had on here as well. And you get just the at-a-glance stats. It looks much nicer, just a lot more compact, easier to read, in my opinion. Long term, where do we need to go long term? So not the next 6 months, but the next year, 2 years from now. If the battle chest isn't getting announced in June, which I said that would be the one that shocks me. What I think is, if you've stuck with me this long, it's a long video. Sorry, we're at the I think we're at the 50-minute mark right now, so it's gonna be a long one. If you've stuck with me this long, I said in the beginning what I really expect to happen is profiles, ladder, ranked ladder, and balance change. Those are the 3 things I think that are coming. I would be absolutely completely floored and shocked if they came out with a battle chest. There's good reasons to do a battle chest. Like I said, it kind of washes Reforged into the past, and you can bring people into the future with a WC1, 2, and 3 battle chest experience. A new paid product, and a way to release something that actually works. Reforged didn't work when it shipped, so there's that. And a new expansion. Naga has always been a playable race in the campaign setting. You can go and put the Naga in a custom map and play them. They have a full end-to-end tier tree in terms of upgrading units, spells, abilities. They have all of that. It's probably not balanced because it came out, 17 years now ago for the Frozen Throne campaign, but it's there and can be built upon. Campaign extensions I think would be incredible. Significant unit and item rework, so not just like lightly touching up spells or slightly reworking them. I'm talking about like full hero reworks, like they do in Heroes of the Storm, like they do in League of Legends, in Dota 2, real unit and item reworks. And then new systems. Think about things that exist in League of Legends and Heroes of the Storm. In Heroes of the Storm, you can claim mercenaries after you clear their camps. So imagine after a creep camp, you could steal a creep camp from somebody else. If you've played Heroes of the Storm, you can actually you could creep jack a creep camp and actually hire them as mercenaries. So you could be able to do that. That could be something cool. And then there's a lot of other cool new systems that exist in other RTSs and other MOBAs as well. So what did you think? Please leave a comment below if you've made it this far. Thank you so much for watching the whole way through. I did not think this would go as long as it did, but that's how these patch note fantasy lists go these days. There's a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to go over. It's been a long time. It's been over 2 years since the game has released, and really over a full year since the last patch. So we need balance changes. We need quality of life changes. We need a fresh coat of paint. If you're not already, please hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Find me on Twitter, on Twitch, streaming here and there and casting some games in the near future. And of course, I'll be coming out with some new content soon enough on YouTube. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please let me know what you think in the comments. And I'll see you all in Reforged in June and July for some new, fresh updates. Catch you later. Bye-bye.